Tonight on Sports Overtime, Everett and Houghton Lake play once again, this time in the postseason and in our game of the week. Clare hosts Cassidy in a first-round matchup featuring just one loss between the two teams.
Lots of fun. All this publicity.
How two teenage announcers in Rudyard went viral following their play call last week. Plus, the Tigers hired their new manager for next season. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Sports Overtime. I'm Matthew Doyle, joined by Joey DeBerardino, and the postseason continues tonight for some high school football.
We'll have highlights and score updates from tonight's game, starting with Everett and Houghton Lake.
Yes, some Highland Conference opponents meeting in the first round, and they both went 4-2 this season, so they had a pretty solid year. And last time they played, the Wildcats only won by a touchdown. And in the first, on fourth down, Everett punting it away. The ball bounces around, rolls up to Brock Lindsay, and he loses it. Reese Ransom recovers it, and it's Wildcat ball in the red zone, but they would settle for a field goal later in the second. Junior Brian Morgan rolls off his defenders, cannot be brought down. He gets pushed out of bounds at the goal line, but they give it back to Morgan, and he bulldozes through the line for the score. Houghton Lake leads 6-3. Later in the second, Danny Whitbeck takes the snap, taking the handoff, and he rolls to his left, and then he slips through the defense, and he is off to the races, finding the end zone, and Everett holds on to win 23-18, advancing. Let's toss it out to Cassidy Cobb, who has more from the Wildcats.
When I stopped by practice earlier this week, Coach and the rest of the Wildcats told me they knew exactly what they needed to do to win this game tonight. They already did it back in week 3 against Houghton Lake by a touchdown, and it was somewhat the same tonight as they cruise to their second ever playoff victory in school history.
It feels really good. I mean, we've only had one playoff win in school history, and that makes 2. And then we showed huge heart and just kept pounding the entire game.
We had to stop the run. We knew that they were going to run, and that was going to be a difficult task for us tonight. They're a physical team. Brian Morgan is an outstanding running back. He's a tough kid. Jake Hamp, their linebacker and fullback, is an outstanding football player, kind of the key to their offensive success, in my opinion. Just tough kids. And we really had to stop the run. We did just enough from that standpoint. I feel like we played solid defense, and to be honest with you, Reese Ransom's field goals were huge for us.
Everett advances on and will play McBain next week, another Highland Conference opponent. In Everett, Cassidy Cobb for Sports Overtime.
Thank you, Cassidy. Elsewhere in that district, Beaverton cruised in the second half to a 35-0 win over Pine River. They will play Oscoda in the next round. Charlevoix completed their first undefeated regular season since 1977, taking home the conference title, and they face Roscommon, who went 1-4 this season. The Raiders begin the second half on a roll. Senior Luke Snyder takes the handoff up the gut, breaking multiple tackles, and it takes 2 defenders on his back before finally being brought down. A couple plays later, Charlevoix quarterback Caleb Stuck rolls out to his right, throwing across the body to the middle of the field where Ethan Putman is waiting, and he meets little defense as he crosses the goal line. Roscommon trying to get something going with the fake punt play. Sophomore Aiden Pratt finds the crease up the middle, and he picks up enough yardage for the first down, but that drive stalls. Charlevoix has the ball in the fourth, and Philip Sterrett receives the handoff, outrunning any defenders and increasing Charlevoix's lead. Raiders win 58-6.
Let's find out who Charlevoix will play. Mansalona heads back to districts for the second consecutive year, with Manistee looking for their first playoff win since 2008. Mansalona Art Department getting into the holiday spirit with some pumpkin carving. The Emeralds trying to set a physical tone in the first. White Gearkey laying a big hit right there on Manistee's first possession. They go for it on 4th and short, and the Ironman's Jason Nomchev gets in the backfield to make the stop. Ironman take over, and they march deep into Emerald territory, but Lucas Gold makes a nice defensive play on the edge for Manistee. And here on 4th and goal, Adam Ackler getting it on the toss sweep, flying into the end zone for the score. It's 8-0 Mansalona. Emeralds trying to get something going, but Omar Sy stops the play cold. Mansalona advances with the 36-12 win. Morley Stanwood had a tough matchup against Ravenna tonight, losing 31-0. Hesperia also had a very tough matchup against Parma Westphalia as they lose 46-14. And that wraps up Division 7 as we are headed to Division 8, where East Jordan took on Gwynn.
Yeah, they played each other for the first time tonight. East Jordan making their first playoff appearance since 2003. And halfway through the first quarter, the Red Devils quarterback steps back. The ball is knocked loose. Players swarm into the ball. The defense eventually falls on top of it for the first turnover of the game. Reed Hill takes the snap and he rumbles into the end zone. Nobody stopping that guy tonight. Red Devils quarterback Dawson Olstrom, he leads his team back out and he throws a strike this time to Aiden Webb across the middle of the field, and that's good enough for a big gain. Seems like they've got a good connection going as Olstrom lost the ball up high in the air and Webb makes an unbelievable grab, tipping it up and coming down with the catch short of the goal line. The following play, Olstrom keeps it and eventually falls on his back into the end zone for the East Jordan touchdown, but East Jordan comes up short tonight, losing 24-20. And elsewhere in that district, St. Innes plays Bark River Harris tonight. These two last met in 2008, with the Saints winning that matchup. In the first quarter, it was already 8-0 Bark River. Broncos running the counter. Tyler Rastiacott gets outside and he scores standing up. It's 16-0. Second quarter, Broncos threatening again. Aiden Johnson taking the handoff, and he makes a nice cut, pulls over the defender and into the end zone, and it is 24-0. After a St. Innes 3-and-out, Johnson back at it again, this time a 68-yard run before he is eventually chased down. And a few plays later, it is Nick Everett diving for the 1-yard score on the quarterback keeper. Bark River Harris was up 30-0. St. Innes keeps on fighting, though. Eli North with the beautiful ball to Christopher Bigger, getting the Saints on the board, but they end their season tonight 54-20.
And Beal City looks to make another run towards the state finals this year. The last time Coleman and Beal City met in the districts was 2014, with the Aggies taking the win. Here's Beal on their first possession after they force Coleman to punt. QB Jake Gross keeps it himself, but is tripped up by Connor Carbeno for a loss of yards. The Aggies respond on the next play. Ben Matthews gets the handoff and weaves his way through defenders to the end zone for the first score. The extra point is no good, so they lead 6-0. Next possession for Beal City. Jamison Latham on the run. He gets to the outside, takes it all the way down the sideline, and he is gone for the big rushing score. Aggies up 14-0 now with the 2-point try. Beal City threatening in the red zone again. Carter Fusman has it on the end around. He gets past the pylon in time for the touchdown. Aggies go up 21-0 in the first quarter, and Beal City cruises to the 56-0 win. Beal City will play Breckenridge, who defeated Manton tonight 57-24. Should be a good matchup in the next round. Johannesburg Lewiston cruised a 49-16 win over Alcona. They will host Frankfurt in the next round, who advanced after Saginaw Nouvelle forfeit. White Cloud put up a good fight as well, but they ended up losing to Houghton 23-17. Montebello has its season end with a 42-0 loss against Carson City Crystal. Clare is making its 5th postseason appearance in the last 6 years. They take on Kent City, who is also in the districts for their 5th time in the last 6 seasons. Find out who advances to the next round next on Sports Overtime.
Welcome back to Sports Overtime. Clare went undefeated in the regular season, and they could have the toughest district in Division 6. It features 3 of the top 5 teams in that division.
Yeah, and it's no surprise being in a tough district, and it means having a tough first-round matchup. The Pioneers take on Kent City, who went 5-1 this season. This is the first time they face off, as both teams make it 5th straight playoff appearances. Clare started off hot tonight, going into the final minutes of the first half with 34 points. Pioneers are driving again, but Jacob Recker's pass is picked off by Kent City's Kyler Larson. What a grab and toe tap to stay in bounds. The Eagles trying to score another before half. Kyler Larson connects with Brian Falling for the long passing play. Here with 30 seconds left in the first half, Clare takes another shot downfield. Recker hits Dawson. John turns it upfield, makes a defender miss, and is off to the races. Clare extends a lead 41-6 before the half. Kent City trying to get something going with time winding down, but Larson's pass is short and is intercepted by Al Warner, who takes it nearly 30 yards the other way. Clare wins it 41-6. We'll face Montague next week, who beat Hart by 75 tonight. Harrison picks up the road victory tonight over Sanford Meridian with 24-14 victory, but they have a pretty tough matchup ahead as they will face Muskegon Catholic Central, who defeated Shelby tonight 62-0.
And let's go 87 miles to Boyne City, who took on Mason County Central in Division 6. Boyne City driving in the opening quarter, the handoff to Bobby Hoth, who gets lost in the shuffle, and then he reappears on the far side of the field, diving across the pylon. And that's a Rambler touchdown. They continue the offensive success. Quarterback Jack Neer launches the ball up the middle to a wide open Aaron Best. Nobody comes close to him as he waltzes into the end zone untouched. Mason County Central playing well on offense as well. Check out this play. Breaking a couple tackles, dancing down the sideline before finally being wrapped up. A couple plays later, Mason County Central runs a great fake to the right, and they end up finding the end zone. A much-needed answer, but Boyne City too tough tonight. They win 56-25. They'll play Glen Lake in the next round, and Manistee started its postseason with a strong 62-0 victory over Calcasta. They will face Grayling next, who also played a great game against Benzie Central tonight, winning 47-12.
Kingsley is looking to make another deep playoff run after their trip to the semifinals last season. They take on Standish Sterling, who seeks their first playoff win since 2013, which was against none other than the Stags. So a big rematch tonight. The Stags marched right down the field for an 8-0 lead. Pick it up right after that. Panthers looking to respond, getting a big run from Elijah Burkhart, 29 yards into Kingsley territory. The Stags eventually take over and get their offense going as well. Connor Schuler finds a lane, and he's going to take this 36 yards deep into Standish Sterling territory. Later in the drive, Aiden Shire caps it off, going up the middle for the 1-yard score. The 2-point try is good, so it's 16-0 Kingsley. And in the second, Kingsley adds to their lead. Shire again turns on the Jets on this 20-yard TD run. Kingsley wins 38-13, and they will play either Gladwin or Hancock next. Elsewhere in Division 5, Reed City cruised to a 44-6 win over Sheboygan. They will play next either Ogama Heights or Kingsford. Both road teams won in these matchups. Tri-County tops Central Montcalm with an impressive 33-7 victory. They will face Grant, who also played well tonight, with the 48-16 win. And Chippewa Hill's season ends against Muskegon Oak Ridge, who will now face either Big Rapids or Newaygo. And Shepherd's season comes to an end against Swan Valley. The red-hot Traverse City Central Trojans take on Saginaw Heritage in their 8th playoff appearance in the last 10 years. The Hawks are in the postseason for the first time since 2007. Find out who comes out on top next on Sports Overtime.
Welcome back to Sports Overtime. Traverse City Central suffered its first loss last week against Macomb Dakota, and the Trojans looking to bounce back tonight as they start their 7th straight postseason against Saginaw Heritage. Now, Heritage went 0-5 in the regular season, and at halftime, the Trojans, they had a comfy 39-point lead, and they were adding to it in the third. Josh Burnham rolls out. He finds Ben Van Ness up the far sideline, picking up 25 yards into Hawk territory. Later in that drive, Austin Bills gets the carry. He bounces outside and takes 13 yards for the score. Trojans are up 46-0. Hawks trying to get something going on offense, but Josh Burnham has other ideas. He pits off the crossing pass here, and he is taking it back the other way before finally being hauled down. And he caps off that by calling his own number. And there's a reason he's getting a lot of bid offers and from colleges that he take it 20 yards into the end zone. TC Central wins 60-6. They'll play Swartz Creek in the next round.
Petoskey heads over to Cedar Springs with the Northmen looking for their first playoff win since 2015. The Redhawks seek their 4th consecutive district win after a 4-2 regular season this year. And Petoskey here has the ball, looking to get on the board first, but they fumble. Noah Duran scoops it up and he takes off 95 yards for the Cedar Springs touchdown. They're up by 6. Second quarter now, it's a 14-0 game. Jeremy Campany gets it himself, and he's gone for the 80-yard touchdown run. Cedar Springs is just rolling in this one. Petoskey is going to try and get on the board now. Patrick Levy hands it off to Gavin Wargall, and he's in for the score, but they needed a lot more than that to come back in this one. Petoskey's season comes to a close, losing to Cedar Springs 52-8. Congrats to Ludington, who won their first playoff game tonight in a close 18-15 ball game. They will play either Sault Ste. Marie or Arthur Hill next. Meanwhile, Fremont's season comes to a close as they lose 48-0. Last week, we covered Rudyard versus Cedarville, which turned out to be a snowy mud bowl that received national attention. We got a chance to hear from the young middle school announcers calling that game and their reaction to their recent fame next on Sports Overtime.
Welcome back. Rudyard middle schoolers Stephen Kirshner and Jarrett Smith began announcing Rudyard athletics just last week, and within that week, they made national headlines thanks to one of the craziest football games.
Lots of fun. All this publicity, it's been crazy out there.
Last week, the Rudyard vs. Cedarville game caught the eye of the sports world because of the mud and snow affecting the game. It also gained attention because of the teenage announcers calling the game.
It is muddy here.
It was really muddy. It was hard to tell who was who, but eventually we just figured out the Cedarville players and the Rudyard players we kind of all know, so that's how we figured out who was who.
Jarrett Smith and Stephen Kirshner are middle schoolers at Rudyard, and they had an idea to start announcing when they attended a Rudyard volleyball game.
So it was cold out, and the rest of our friends went out and played football, and we just stayed in, and we were just talking to each other about it with a fake microphone. And then Stephen's dad works in the electronic or mechatronic department here at Rudyard, so we asked them if we could do it, and they said yes, so that's how we got into it.
And they have been working on their craft when at home in front of their televisions.
Yeah, lately my dad has been turning the volume off on the TV and making me announce for him.
Yeah, my dad also makes me write notes on my phone during games so I know what to say.
Tug it in the gun to the left.
They have enjoyed the popularity of their game call, but at the end of the day,
Touchdown!
it's about enjoying the game.
It's been lots of fun just announcing this season with my buddy Jarrett.
Jarrett and Stephen both said if all goes well in high school, they could see themselves pursuing a career in sports broadcasting. And who knows, maybe one day they'll be calling a college football game like the Michigan State game tomorrow.
Yeah, you never know. And that is a big rivalry game, obviously, coming up. And, you know, Michigan is 1-0 after an impressive win over Minnesota last week, while Michigan State looks to bounce back from a loss against Rutgers. That game kicks off tomorrow at 12 p.m. on Local 32. Two more football games were canceled for tomorrow. The Lake City at Harbor Springs game has been canceled because of a positive COVID case at Lake City. Harbor Springs will advance to the next round. The Rogers City administration decided to not send their football team to Iron Mountain tomorrow, who declared a COVID-19 state of emergency earlier this week. As a result, Rogers City's forfeits. The Tigers hired A.J. Finch as their new manager, taking over for Ron Gardenhire.
A.J. Hinch, not Finch, A.J. Hinch, right? But anyways, yeah, it's a little bit controversial. The MLB suspended Hinch for the 2020 season following the Astros sign-stealing scandal, and he managed Houston for 5 seasons, leading them to a World Series title in 2017. Also led them to 3 straight 100-plus win seasons, and Detroit said Hinch signed a multi-year deal. And it was a busy day of sports. If you can read more stories on the new TC West girls soccer coach and the cancellation of the Quick Lane Bowl, along with rewatching tonight's highlights right now at mysportsnow.com.
And it will be another big day tomorrow with the postseason continuing in boys soccer and in football.
Yeah, we'll have those highlights right here on 9 and 10 News. That's it for us. Colbert's coming up next. Have a great night.